Good morning.
Look at that.
Yep.
Yummy.
Hi, and welcome to another Wogs World of Rex. I'm Paulie Wogs, and today we're going to be working on the 1997 Ford F250. We've come quite a ways with this truck. We've gotten the rear axle mounted, leaf springs installed. Tavion painted those when he was learning how to paint, and he did a real good job on those. As you can see, we've got the front springs installed as well, and everything is going pretty good on this truck. Of course, the video where we painted the engine block, and the engine block is ready to start being reassembled. It's one of those things where, you know, I have a full-day job, or a full-time job, and I come home in the evenings and I do what I can to work on the truck in my spare time in the evenings. And then on Friday evenings and Saturdays, I try to devote the time to the Cougar that's inside the paint booth where we're doing the body work to it. But today is Saturday, and normally I would be working on the Cougar, but today I've decided to go ahead and just work on the truck some, try to dedicate a full day's worth of work to it and do a video on it here to catch everybody up with what's going on with this truck. Currently what we're going to be trying to do today is I have these parts over here. These are cross members for the truck, for the frame. I've got one over here on the floor. I've got two here. And then these are the brackets for the engine mounts, for the engine to be mounted back into the truck. So what we're going to try to do today is, I had already let these soak overnight, and I've cleaned them up and got all the grease and stuff off of them. So today we're going to work on getting these painted. That way we can tie the frame sections back together, the side rails back together with these cross members. And at some point here in the next week or two, hopefully we'll be able to get the engine mounted back into the front once we get all these engine mounts painted. What I also hope to do today is I hope to get back onto the front axle. I had started doing a tear down on the front axle. We got some axle parts there on the floor. It's a split beam axle, so it's got two different sides that join together here. We need to replace the bushings in those. And of course the bushings won't get replaced till the rest of this gets disassembled and painted. And so there's the one side here. This is the side that would be for the passenger side. And I've got the other side over here on the floor that would be for the driver's side. And there it is on the floor. And so hopefully later on today we'll be disassembling both sections of these and getting these ready to be painted as well. So like I said, we could just kind of get back to getting this reassembled. And you know, I do apologize for not keeping better videos of this truck, but it's just one of those things, like I said, where I just have a couple of hours here or there to dig into it when I get home from work, and so that's what I do. And with those couple of hours, it's hard to do videos on it because the videos take time to set up the camera and set up the different angles and just make sure that everything's all right that way. So, you know, I just don't do the videos to it as much as I'd like to because of that purpose. But today, like I said, we're going to devote some time to it. So thanks for watching, and we hope you enjoy. Let's get started. All right, so as I had mentioned before, I had cleaned these parts off over there in the water and soap and got them degreased really well. But what we want to do next before we try to paint them is we want to try to get all this rust scale that's still built up on here. We want to try to get all the rest of that off. And that way the paint and stuff that we're going to be using will adhere properly to this. So what I use for that a lot of times is I use what's called a descaler. It's got a lot of little needles in it. And basically it's an air operated tool, and when you pull the trigger, these little needles, they shake around and they'll break the rust up. So that's what we're going to use on these to clean up the rest of these parts and get these prepped for some painting here. All right, as you can see, that scaler did really good on getting the rest of that rust off there, the heavy rust anyways. Broke it up real nice. Got that part cleaned up real nice. And then one final degreasing, and this will be ready for some primer and some paint. So, well, let's go ahead and get the rest of these parts cleaned up, and then we'll get on with the primering process. Alright, so we got all these parts cleaned up as best we can with the with the needle scaler. So the next step is some of these brackets, they still have paint on them, even this loose paint that the needle scaler will not get off. So what we're going to do next is we're just going to use an air die grinder with a red Scotch-Brite pad on it, and what we're going to do is we're going to use that to clean up the paint here and to scuff it so that our primer will stick. Alright, so one other thing I'm going to do before we go paint these is some of these brackets, like these, here for the engine, they've got these nuts welded on the back side, as you can see here. So what I'm going to do before we paint these is I'm also going to take some thread chasers, or what they call taps, and I'm going to go ahead and run those down through here and clean the threads out on these. And then I'm going to use a couple of dies, and where these bolts are sticking up on these other brackets, I'm going to run some dies down on here and clean these threads out. That way it'll get all the rust and everything off the threads. And then from there we'll be able to go ahead and degrease these one more time and go ahead and start with the priming and painting. I'm looking for a 1.75, which is what this is.
I want to help.
You want to help?
Yes.
All right, well, let's get you some glasses. All right, so for this part of the demonstration, little Smalls has decided to join us. Say hi, Smalls.
Hi.
All right, and she's going to help us clean the threads out on these bolts that are attached in here. You're going to hold the metal piece. All right, here we go. so as you can see, those parts turned out really good. We got the threads all cleaned off with the help of little smalls over here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go hang these up, and then we're going to degrease them and get them ready for painting. All right, so before we paint these parts, the last thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and clean them one last time. We want to be able to degrease them. Degreasing them ensures that we've got all the grease off and that the paint and everything's going to stick really well. So what I use for that is I use a product called Pre-Green Painting Prep, which is a product by Eastwood. And to apply that painting prep, what I use a refillable non-aerosol sprayer. This is also a product by Eastwood. Basically, you just fill it up to a certain level, and then you put air in there to pressurize it, and it comes out like a spray. Now while cleaning these, I did put on rubber gloves, and the rubber gloves are not necessarily to protect myself from the chemicals, although that is a good idea. You want to always try to protect yourself. But the other reason we put on the rubber gloves is because you also don't want to get oil on the parts that you're trying to paint, because oil will keep the paints and primers and stuff from sticking. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and let that air dry a little bit. That gives the cleaner a little time to flash off, and then we'll be able to come back. And what we're going to do is we're not going to primer these. We're going to use a product called POR15, which is a product that I've been using for a long time. It's a very good product. POR just simply stands for paint over rust, and the product can either be sprayed on, brushed on. That's how you would apply it. And in this instance, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spray it on. I'm going to use one of my HVLP primer guns. That's also an Eastwood primer gun that I use. So I will be using that to put on the POR15, and that will basically encapsulate the rust. You know, if I was doing a full restoration on this truck, as far as like a show quality restoration, I would actually sandblast these parts, make them, you know, look as clean as possible, and then give them a really nice paint job, you know, to bring them up to a quality for a show or to win trophies. But you know, with this truck, it's something I just want to get done. I want to put it back out on the road, and we want it to last as long as possible. So using the POR15 to encapsulate the rust, to lock that in, it's a perfectly fine way of doing it to allow the quickest process to being able to put the truck back together, or any project you're working on. All right, so in and amongst our painting and working on the engine parts today for the engine brackets, Smalls has also been out here helping, as you've seen her earlier in the video. Of course, I had to have her go inside and change her clothes because she wasn't in any kind of working clothes. So I've got her out here now, and she's decided to play a little while. I'm not quite sure what she's doing. Esther, you want to try to explain to us what you're doing?
Well, some of these are Hot Wheels. This one isn't a Hot Wheel, and that one isn't a Hot Wheel. That probably isn't. That isn't a Hot Wheel. And that one isn't either. And the truck down there, the one that has the dump truck, well, that one's part of this one, I think.
Okay. And what are you trying to do at the moment?
Well, I was playing like a racing, where I have to race around, and whoever's in the front, and they're supposed to be the boss, they go up here.
Oh, okay.
And then they don't ride again, and these ones don't ride again.
Okay.
And those ones have to do the same thing.
And these cars over here have to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's really neat.
And the one in these blocks, I didn't have another full block like that one. Well, Daddy let me use it. He's letting me use those ones too. But I have to make it look like that. Well, not exactly like that, but kind of like that.
Okay. Well, I think we'll leave you at it and let you play and have fun. When you're ready to come back and help, you just let me know.
Okay.
Alrighty. we got those painted with the POR 15 and they look really good. Turned out nice. And before we can top coat these with actual paint, we're going to have to let these mostly dry. The way the instructions are for the POR 15 before you can top coat it, it says that it must be mostly dry with just a tacky feeling to it, so like a drag when you rub your finger across it. So what we'll do is a little bit later on we'll put a rubber glove on, because again you don't want to leave oily residues behind. So we'll put a glove on later, and we'll check it and make sure that it's just slightly tacky before we paint these. Alright, so it's been long enough. I used a rubber glove to check these and drug my finger across them, and they are just tacky, which is what we want. We want them just to be slightly on the sticky side, but not wet. So these are good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up the paint now, and we'll be able to put a nice coat of paint on these. Alright, well, we got those all painted. 3 coats of paint on the brackets here. The color matches the engine. I think they turned out really nice. And of course these will cure out for a few days before I actually put them on the engine. But they are painted and they're good to go. Alright, so after painting the engine bracket parts, to give me something else to do here, we're going to go ahead and start working on this front axle. As you can see, I had already removed, like I said, a lot of that front stuff off here, the hub and all that. So now all we have left to do is to get these ball joints out, upper, lower, and then we have to get this plate off, and then the axle shaft will come out. So that's all we have pretty much left to do to this piece. So let's get on with it. Here we go. Wow, that was a tough one. All right, well, we got this front half of the axle all disassembled and ready to be cleaned up to be painted. We also have the steering knuckle up here. We do have the upper and lower ball joints still left to press out of that, but once we do that, then that steering knuckle will be ready to get cleaned up and painted as well. I think this is going to be it for this part of the video. I've actually been working on these things for a couple of days. I didn't explain that, but the only thing we have left is the other half of the axle to go ahead and disassemble that, and then we'll be able to get it put up on the frame. I do want to let everybody know that Naomi and we discussed it, and we're going to actually kind of put the Mercury Cougar on hold for a short while. We're going to try to just hammer away on this truck and get it completely done. That way I can focus and concentrate on nothing but the Cougar as well, and get more of it done on a consistent basis. So instead of kind of spreading my work out in the evenings on just the truck and then the weekends for the car, the truck is kind of coming to a time where it's going to just need a lot of work to be done quickly, so I can kind of finish it up. So that's what we decided to do. We've decided to go ahead and just continue on the truck only and just try to get it finished from this point out. So the future videos that are coming are going to be all on the truck. So we hope you enjoy watching. I appreciate everybody that's subscribed, and we hope you continue to enjoy the videos that come. Thanks again. Bye.